Why do the merciful always fall, while the ruthless endure? In a world where power is the only currency, mercy becomes the noose around a leader's neck. Tonight, we unmask Machiavelli's darkest rule, why showing mercy is the fastest path to ruin, and how only the merciless survive. In the theater of power, survival is not a game of kindness. Mercy is a blade turned against the hand that offers it. For centuries, rulers who chose compassion over control found their thrones shaken, their names erased. Machiavelli, the master of power, warned us, it is safer to be feared than loved. Tonight, we explore why mercy is a dangerous illusion. Mercy, the sweetest of words, wrapped in the garments of morality. It is painted as the highest virtue, the mark of a noble soul, the act of one who stands above cruelty. From childhood, you are taught to forgive, to turn the other cheek, to grant compassion to those who have wronged you. And yet, in the cold reality of power, mercy is not a strength. It is a poison that seeps into the veins of rulers, dulling their instincts, softening their grip, and preparing them for destruction. Think carefully. When a ruler shows mercy, whom does it truly serve? The guilty rejoice, the enemies regain their courage, and the weak mistake kindness for fragility. The crowd may cheer the benevolent king, but beneath their applause is contempt, for they know he lacks the iron hand to hold them in place. A ruler who forgives those who should be punished invites others to test the boundaries of his tolerance. Each pardon becomes an invitation, each act of leniency a signal that authority can be bent, challenged, and resisted. Mercy is seductive precisely because it feels righteous. It flatters the ruler, convincing him that he is above cruelty, that he is loved for his compassion. But this love is shallow, and this compassion fleeting. The crowd that praises your mercy today will curse your weakness tomorrow when rebellion festers, when traitors rise from the very men you spared, and when blood flows not by your command, but by the hands of those who despise your restraint. Mercy does not buy loyalty. It purchases betrayal at a discounted price. Consider this: a general in battle who captures a defeated enemy and spares his life believes he is displaying honor. Yet the man he spares may regroup, gather strength, and return with renewed hatred. How many rulers have fallen not by the sword of a stranger, but by the very hand they once pardoned? History is littered with the corpses of leaders who mistook mercy for wisdom. For every life spared, another dagger is sharpened in the shadows. Mercy is most dangerous when shown to those who threaten authority. To pardon the weak is harmless, but to pardon the dangerous is fatal. When a ruler forgives a traitor, he broadcasts to all that treason is survivable. Others watch and learn. They whisper among themselves, if he forgave once, he will forgive again. Soon, treachery is no longer feared, but tolerated, and the kingdom corrodes from within. This is why Machiavelli declared that cruelty, when used wisely, is more merciful than mercy itself. A swift punishment teaches obedience, and execution silences rebellion before it begins. The cruel act today spares countless cruelties tomorrow, but mercy, left unchecked, multiplies suffering, for it allows danger to fester, grow, and return with vengeance. The hand that trembles to strike today must later strike tenfold harder to correct the chaos it has unleashed. And let us not pretend that mercy springs from virtue alone. Often, mercy is born from fear. The ruler afraid to stain his hands with blood, the leader desperate to be loved by his subjects. But a ruler who fears to act ruthlessly will find his people do not respect him, for respect is rooted in strength, not in softness. The subjects who love you for your mercy will abandon you the moment your weakness exposes them to danger. They will not remember your kindness when enemies storm the gates. They will only remember your failure to act. Mercy then is not a shield but a crack in the armor. It does not protect, it exposes, and every enemy, every rival, every schemer watches for that crack. They wait for the moment you hesitate, the moment you spare when you should strike, the moment you forgive when you should destroy. And in that hesitation lies your downfall. The illusion of mercy is this: it appears noble, it feels powerful, it wins applause. But applause is fleeting, and nobility without power is nothing but decoration on a crumbling wall. The ruler who gives in to mercy believes he has secured loyalty, when in truth he has traded strength for vulnerability. He believes he has disarmed his enemies, when in reality he has only armed them with the knowledge of his weakness. Mercy is celebrated in poetry and religion because poets and priests do not fight for thrones, they do not bleed on the battlefield, they do not bear the weight of rebellion. But rulers, true rulers, understand that power does not bend to sentiment. Mercy is a luxury for those who do not hold power, but for those who must keep it. Mercy is the surest path to ruin. Every ruler is faced with a question that has haunted thrones for centuries. Is it better to be loved or to be feared? On the surface, love appears to be the nobler choice. Love wins the adoration of the people. Love makes a leader admired. Love creates the illusion of unity. But illusions do not preserve power. Illusions vanish in the first storm, and when survival is at stake, love proves as fragile as glass. Fear, however, is carved in stone. Fear binds men not to sentiment, but to obedience. Fear does not waver when fortunes shift. Fear endures when love has fled. Love is intoxicating. The ruler who is loved feels adored, feels cherished, feels invincible. Crowds shout his name, hands reach out to touch him, and hearts seem loyal. But love is always conditional. Men love when it is convenient to love. They love when their bellies are full, when their homes are safe, when their lives are untroubled. The moment hardship strikes, the moment sacrifice is demanded, love evaporates like smoke in the wind. Those who claim to love you will quickly abandon you to preserve themselves. Love is voluntary, and that is why it is unreliable. Fear is different. Fear is not voluntary. Fear is not a gift men can give or take back. Fear is commanded. A man may choose whether or not to love, but he does not choose whether or not to fear. Fear is instinct, hardwired into survival. And when survival clashes with sentiment, survival always triumphs. That is why the ruler who is feared never finds himself truly abandoned, for even in hatred his subjects obey. They may despise him, but they dare not move against him. And in the cruel arithmetic of power, obedience is worth far more than affection. Consider this: a ruler who depends on love is like a ship that sails on calm waters. It glides gracefully, but the first storm tears it apart. A ruler who rules by fear, however, is like a fortress built upon stone. The winds may howl, the storms may rage, but the foundation does not break. Fear is stability. Love is decoration, which, then, is the true shield for power. Machiavelli himself warned that while it is ideal to be both loved and feared, the two rarely coexist. Love softens fear, and fear erodes love. When forced to choose, fear is the wiser path, for men may betray the ruler they love, but they rarely betray the ruler they fear. To betray love carries no consequence but guilt. To betray fear invites punishment, and men value their lives more than their emotions. Yet, the wisdom of fear lies in its precision. Fear must never descend into hatred, for hatred breeds rebellion. A ruler must be feared enough to be obeyed, but not so despised that his subjects dream of his downfall. This is the delicate art of power: to strike with cruelty when necessary, to command with severity, yet to temper ruthlessness with just enough restraint to keep hatred from festering. Fear, when balanced, is the perfect instrument of control. Think of the merciful ruler who seeks only love. He pardons offenses. He listens to pleas. He bends to the will of the crowd. At first, they cheer him. They call him just, but over time they grow bold. They mistake his compassion for weakness, and they test his limits. Love gives them the courage to demand more, to challenge more, to resist more. Love breeds entitlement. And when the ruler finally refuses them, the love turns to disappointment, then to anger, then to revolt. Love is unstable, a shifting ground upon which no throne can stand. Now, think of the ruler who commands fear. His subjects know the cost of defiance. They whisper in private. They may even resent him, but they obey. They obey because fear silences doubt, because fear burns deeper than love, because fear holds them even when their hearts long to rebel. And when crisis erupts, it is not love that compels the people to remain loyal. It is fear. Love flees at the first sight of danger, fear stays, fear guards, fear enforces. The choice between love and fear is not truly a choice at all, for one is fragile and fleeting, while the other is enduring and immovable. A ruler who builds his authority on love is building on sand. A ruler who builds his authority on fear is building on rock. The difference is survival. At the heart of all politics, all kingdoms, all dominions, lies one truth: survival is the only law. Strip away morality, strip away ideals, strip away the gilded promises of justice and fairness, and what remains is this: power determines who lives and who is forgotten. Survival belongs not to the merciful, not to the hesitant, but to those ruthless enough to seize power and cruel enough to protect it. Too often, rulers deceive themselves with the fantasy that kindness will preserve them. They imagine that generosity buys loyalty, that benevolence creates security, that noble words and pure intentions hold their throne firm. But history shows us otherwise. History is not written by the merciful. It is written by the victorious. And victory does not fall to those who hesitate. Victory belongs to those who strike without remorse, who eliminate threats without hesitation, who place survival above sentiment. Power, at its essence, is never gentle. Power is not given, it is taken, and once taken, it must be defended with relentless force. A ruler who fears to act ruthlessly has already surrendered, for his enemies will not share his hesitation. They will sharpen their knives while he debates morality. They will conspire in the shadows while he wastes time weighing compassion against necessity. By the time his conscience makes a decision, his enemies will already have acted. And in the brutal theater of power, hesitation is death. Think of a kingdom as a body. The ruler is its mind, and threats to his rule are its diseases. Mercy, in this analogy, is the refusal to cut away the infection. It may feel humane to spare it, but the disease spreads, poisoning the body until it collapses. Ruthlessness, however, is surgery. It is swift, it is painful, but it saves the body from total ruin. Survival demands sacrifice. To preserve the whole, the ruler must never hesitate to destroy the part. Those who criticize cruelty do so because they have never tasted the burden of rule. They do not understand that order is fragile, that power must be protected like a flame in the wind. They worship mercy because they have never had to preserve authority against rivals who would kill them at the first opportunity. But the ruler knows mercy is a weapon turned against him, a weakness exploited by every rival, every traitor, every schemer waiting in the shadows. Mercy is not survival. Mercy is surrender disguised as virtue. The merciless, however, understand the mathematics of survival. To strike once with cruelty is to prevent 100 future rebellions. To crush dissent before it grows is to save countless lives from the chaos of war. Mercy allows enemies to gather strength. Ruthlessness ends the threat before it begins. The ruler who refuses to act decisively, who spares when he should destroy, condemns his people to greater suffering. For in sparing the guilty, he sacrifices the innocent. In hesitating to punish, he ensures that the weak will pay the price when rebellion erupts. Survival requires deception as much as it requires force. Power is not only defended with armies, but with illusions. A ruler must know when to cloak cruelty in the language of justice, when to disguise necessity as benevolence, when to paint bloodshed as peacekeeping. For while survival demands ruthlessness, appearances still matter. The people need not see a tyrant, they must see a protector. They need not understand that their obedience is enforced through fear. They must believe it is inspired by loyalty. The wise ruler wields not only the sword but the mask, for survival is secured as much through perception as through strength. And yet, make no mistake, the foundation of survival is always force. Without the capacity to destroy his enemies, a ruler is nothing more than a figurehead, a puppet waiting to be overthrown. It is not love, not mercy, not even wealth, that protects him in moments of crisis. It is the ability to act decisively, to crush threats without pity, to sacrifice friendship, alliances, even morality itself if necessary. For in the end, survival is ruthless. It demands that the ruler be willing to burn everything to preserve his throne. Look to the fate of rulers who faltered. Those who spared their enemies were later killed by them. Those who hesitated to act found their crowns stolen. Those who sought to preserve their image as kind and merciful were destroyed by those less concerned with appearances. Their kingdoms fell not because they lacked wealth, not because they lacked armies, but because they lacked the will to wield cruelty when survival demanded it. Power and survival are inseparable. To hold one, you must master the other. Power is not secure unless defended ruthlessly, and survival is not possible unless one embraces the darkest necessities of rule. The ruler who cannot make this sacrifice, the ruler who clings to mercy, to love, to hesitation, will not endure. A ruler does not live forever. Time erodes flesh, crowns pass to new heads, and empires rise and fall with the passing of generations. Yet there is one thing that outlives the mortal body, the legacy a ruler leaves behind. And here lies a truth that the weak dare not speak aloud. History does not remember the merciful. It remembers only the strong. It remembers those who ruled with iron, those who chose survival over sentiment, those who chose fear over love, those who refused to bend to weakness. The legacy of strength endures. The legacy of mercy is erased. What is mercy in the chronicles of time? A fleeting gesture, a soft word, a kindness easily forgotten. The people may applaud a merciful act in the moment, but when decades pass, who remembers it? What remains of mercy once the ruler is gone? Nothing but silence. Mercy has no permanence, no weight, no echo in eternity. But strength is written into stone. Strength is carved into monuments, sung in battle songs, remembered in the whispers of generations long after the ruler's bones have turned to dust. Consider the rulers whose names we still speak centuries later. They were not remembered for their kindness. They were remembered for their dominance, for their victories, for their ruthless decisions that secured their power. The merciful fade from history because mercy does not inspire fear, does not secure obedience, does not carve its mark deep enough into the world. Only strength does this. Only strength survives the erosion of time. And strength does not always appear as cruelty alone. Strength is the will to decide when cruelty must be used, the will to endure hatred without flinching, the will to sacrifice reputation for survival. The ruler who embraces strength understands that history judges not the act, but the outcome. A massacre may be condemned in the present, but if it secures the throne and preserves the kingdom, time will paint it as necessity. A ruthless decision that ensures survival becomes, in the eyes of posterity, wisdom. It is only failure that is condemned. The weak may die with clean hands, but they die forgotten. The strong may die with blood on their hands, but they live forever in memory. The legacy of strength also creates continuity. When a ruler demonstrates ruthlessness, his successors inherit the weight of his reputation. His name becomes a shield for them, a reminder to the people that their dynasty is unyielding. The subjects may hate, they may grumble, but they obey because they remember the iron hand of the founder. Fear lingers beyond the grave, passing from one generation to the next. Mercy, however, dies with the man who granted it. His heirs inherit nothing but a hollow memory of weakness, a precedent of softness that invites challenge. Strength builds dynasties. Mercy destroys them. Ask yourself, when a ruler dies, what do his enemies remember? Do they remember the day he forgave them, the day he showed compassion? No. They remember the day he crushed them, the day he burned their rebellion to ashes, the day he proved that defiance was death. It is fear, not mercy, that echoes in the minds of enemies. Fear keeps them silent. Fear keeps them loyal. Fear ensures that even in death, the ruler's shadow governs the living. This is why the pursuit of a noble reputation is a fool's game. The ruler who seeks to be loved, to be adored for his mercy, may gain applause in life, but he gains nothing in death. Applause dies with the crowd. What remains after death is the structure of power he left behind. A structure built on fear stands unshaken. A structure built on mercy collapses into dust. The legacy of strength is not about cruelty for cruelty's sake. It is about endurance. It is about imprinting your will so deeply into the world that even time cannot erase it. The merciless ruler may be cursed by his contemporaries, but he is feared by his enemies and remembered by history. And what is the purpose of power, if not to endure beyond the grave? Strength is the language of eternity. It is the echo that carries through centuries. It is the story retold, the legend that outlasts nations, the example studied by rulers who come after. The merciful may rest peacefully in their time, comforted by their fleeting reputation, but their names vanish like dust in the wind. The strong, however, never vanish. Their presence lingers, their shadow stretches across generations, and their will survives long after their bodies are gone. So we return to the lesson hidden beneath centuries of blood and thrones overturned. Mercy is a mirage, a beautiful illusion that lures rulers into weakness. Love is fragile, breaking the moment it is tested, while fear endures and binds men more securely than affection ever could. Power is not sustained by hesitation or sentiment. It is preserved only by those willing to act ruthlessly, to strike when others would falter, to embrace cruelty when survival demands it. And in the end, it is not mercy, nor kindness, nor noble intent that history remembers. It remembers strength. The rulers who endure in memory are those who refuse to be swayed by pity, who embrace the harsh reality that power belongs only to those bold enough to wield it without trembling. The merciful are forgotten, their legacies washed away like sand in the tide, but the merciless, their names are carved into stone, etched into the marrow of history, and carried forward as warnings, as examples, as lessons for those who dare to rule. If survival is the goal, if power is the prize, then the law is clear, the truth undeniable. Never show mercy, for mercy is the seed of ruin and strength. The cold, unyielding strength of the merciless is the only legacy that lasts.